Hey, kia ora. Helen Brahms here, coming to you live from Surprise in Arizona. Hope you're all having a super fantastic, sparkling day. Welcome to Before the Dirt Nap podcast number 1882, DNA and genealogy. This question comes up quite a lot about DNA and genealogy. Can you use DNA alone? Can you use genealogy alone? How do you prove relationships and that sort of thing? And there's a couple of Facebook groups, well, more than a couple of Facebook groups I belong to, where they talk about DNA. And some people have a misconception that DNA says something that it doesn't. I'm trying to think of how to word this. So you go along, you get your testing done with through DNA, whether it's done through Ancestry, whether it's done through Family Tree DNA, whether it's done through 23andMe or some other company that's out there, and you go and they send you back your results with your ethnicity in there. Some of the other ones do have a little more, but basically you're looking at the ethnicity, and then they may turn around and go, hey, in our database, you match up with these people and you have these centimorgans. And the centimorgans, I'm not exactly sure how to explain, but they are these little numbers along there that, sorry, I got a very itchy nose right now. They're these numbers that show you how many centimorgans you have in common with these other people. And based on the number of centimorgans determines how close in relationship you are. But what DNA does not tell you is how you are related. It can say you have DNA matches with these people, and it can say you've got this number of centimorgans in common, and you could turn around and say, okay, well, and they can say, and then the DNA program that you belong to, the testing that you belong to, may turn around and say there is a possibility that you may be first cousins, second cousins, third cousins, fourth cousins, blah, 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 blah. And it could, based on the information, it could be on your maternal side, it could be on your paternal side. So your mother's side or your father's, paternal side is always on the left, maternal side is always on the right. So on your father's side or your mother's side. But it doesn't say how you are related. And a lot of people get the misconception of seeing their results and going, oh, I'm a third or fourth cousin to this person? Oh, okay. And they take that to mean that they're a third or fourth cousin. They may not be, because sometimes the DNA results get it a little wrong, even with the number of centimorgans that are in there. For example, when I got some of my DNA matches in, and my and different family members started doing their DNA testing in that, it said that this particular person was a first cousin. Well, and the first cousin has less centimorgans than what a parent or an aunt or a grandparent would have. Well, actually, grandparent and first cousins kind of have the same numbers, but there's certain ranges within the centimorgans. There are certain ranges that can assist with helping determine I'm trying to think how to word this, that can assist with helping determine how close that relationship is. So this one person showed up on my thing as first cousin, and I had a look at the name and I went, that ain't my first cousin, that's my aunt. And I should have had more centimorgans in common with her, but I didn't. And that's okay, because that's how the DNA works. You get 50% of your DNA from your father, 50% of DNA from your mother. They come together and create you. Now, when the DNA is split, so there's one chapter in this book that went into this whole detail. Basically, it means that there's DNA within your parents that will then split and create, or not create, but split their DNA so that you get 50% from dad and 50% from mom. They come together to create you. Now, it is randomly selected out of the chromosomes that are available as to which ones you get. So your sibling will get a different set of, we'll get a different set of chromosomes from your father, and a different set of chromosomes from your mother. There may be some overlap. So this is why when you're looking at the DNA match, the more people in your family that you can get to do DNA, the better the results are going to be overall, because everybody gets a different mix of DNA because it's a random selection. Nature does it randomly. so with the exception of identical twins. You want to get an 100% match on identical twins. But when you're looking at how you're related to cousins and that sort of thing, like for let's see, I need my brother to do this. So I could show that I am by blood related to these people in my family, this circle of people in my family. My brother's DNA will come in and he will show that he's related to these people in the family. And there will be a piece of overlap. But there will be cousins, whether they are first, second, third, fourth, fifth, whatever cousins that I'm related to that he has no blood relation to, no DNA match. So no, not blood relation, but no DNA match to, because we each get different sets of chromosomes from our parents. So it's, when you think about it, if you've got, let's see, if I'm going to go try and just see if I can do this as a baking analogy. So when you're making chocolate chip cookies, you've got 2 batches of chocolate chip cookies, and you've got batch A and batch B. Batch A has dark chocolate chip cookies. Batch B might have milk chocolate chip cookies. So you've got the dark and you've got the white. Now you take some of the dough some of the batter from the dark and some of the batter from the white, and you bring it together and make this batch. Now, when you start splitting it, you're going to take 50% of this, 50% of this, and put them together. So now you have dark chocolate and white chocolate mixed into the same cookie because you've mixed up these 2 batches of batter. But when you start splitting out the cookies, some are going to get more white chocolate chips, some are going to get more dark chocolate chips, some are going to get about the same. They all have the white and the dark chocolate chips in them, but their numbers may be different when you start scooping out the cookies on the cookie sheet. So dark chocolate chips could be dad, white chocolate chips could be mum. You get half of each mixture, you bring it together, you mix it all together, and when you split out to make those cookies, there's going to be different numbers of different colored chocolate chips in there, just like there is with your DNA. That was a really good example. Whew. I got to remember that one, because not every cookie is going to have the exact same number of dark chocolate or white chocolate chips in them when you scoop the batter out onto the cookie sheet. So that's the same thing with your DNA. You get a random selection of DNA from dad, a random selection DNA from mum. They come together, they form you. That's one cookie. Then you take another selection of DNA random selection of DNA from dad, another random selection DNA from mum, put them together, and that is your sibling. And you have a slightly different mix. You don't have the exact same DNA in there, which is why you show that you're blood related through you've got DNA matches to some cousins, where your sibling has DNA matches to different cousins, but there may be a little bit of overlap in there. Okay, so keep that in mind as we go through this. So your centimorgans are going to be different anyway. The closer you are, the more centimorgans you're going to have in common, and the more likely you are to be related. But the DNA only shows you that you are related by blood. It does not show how you are related. What you need to do to figure out the how, which is the component that was missing from when I was reading some of the posts in these different groups on DNA, the component that they were missing was the fact that they hadn't done the genealogy research to figure out how they are related. So DNA matches show you are related. You then have to pair it up with genealogy to show how you are related, because DNA will not show you how. The genealogy will give you names, dates, places, and how the relationship actually looks. So like for example, with my aunt, it showed that she was a first cousin, but through genealogy, she's actually my aunt. And I happen to know that because of course I know my aunts. Then with second and third cousins that have been showing up, I've been having a look at those, and there was one that said, hey, this one's got this many, this is a second or third cousin on your father's side of the family. When we did the research, no. She was actually my third cousin on my mother's side of the family. When we did the research and we got the genealogy worked out, I mean, as soon as she said who her mother was, boom, it was case closed. I already knew the genealogy. because I already had it worked out. Then I knew exactly where she fitted in with the genealogy. So you've got to be careful when you're looking at these DNA matches going, oh, we're third cousins, or we're like, I had somebody send me a message through Ancestry and go, oh, I see that we're fourth cousins. Happy, great to meet you. Great to meet you, cousin. And that was it. That was the end of the thing. And I'm like, not quite. I need to know some information. There's always, it says we've got this name and this last name in common, and that we're fourth cousins. And I'm like, it doesn't work that way. Yes, they had their tree there. Yes, it highlighted, but it did not show who the common ancestor was. So yes, we may have had the same names on our trees, but the DNA connection may not actually be through those branches of that tree. It could be in another area. I'm still researching that one, and I have yet to find the connection using the last name that is highlighted through her tree as being the same name that's in my tree. Can't find it. Still researching it, because I want to make sure that, is it through that tree or is it through something else? Now I'm having to go back to, hang on, fourth cousin. I'm having to go back to third great grandparents, and third great grandparents, we have 32 of them. And so far I have uncovered 7 of them out of 32. So somewhere in, and so far on that level with the 7 that I have discovered out of the 32, we don't have a match yet. We don't have a, sorry, out of, yeah, no, sorry, I'm working on the second great grandparent line, which is 16, and I have 7 out of 16 second great grandparents listed in this micro tree that I'm working on to see where it fits into my tree. And I've got to find the other 9, the other 9 second great grandparents to figure out, is there a connection along that line? And then I then have to go to those 16 great grandparents and find their parents, which will then give me 32 second great grandparents. I actually have a little cheat sheet up here now. And figure out where the connection is, who is the grandparent we have in common, that would then prove this 4th or 5th, because the DNA match says that we're 4th or 5th cousins. So it's going to be somewhere in there. It's going to be somewhere in there. So we may, because it could, if it's 5th cousin, have to go back to the 4th great grandparents, and there's 64 of those. So you can see why it takes a while. And the further the distance in cousins, the lower the number of centimorgans we have in common. Now I have genealogically connected a 7th cousin once removed, and 2 7th cousins. I think that's how it works. Either got 2 7th cousins, or 1 7th cousin once removed, or it's 1 7th cousin once removed and 2 7th. Yeah, it's still 2 7th cousins. So we don't have a lot of DNA in contact, but actually and this is a good example, only one of the 2 7th cousins I actually have a DNA match with. I don't have a DNA match with the other 7th cousin, but because of our genealogy, and we have both diligently working on the trees, we know where the connection is. And the 2 7th cousins happen to be first cousins. And so I know that I am DNA linked to one of them, which means that I am genealogically linked to the other one, since they're all part of the same tree. They all descend from that same person who is in my tree, and we all come from that same common great grandparent. Confused? Me too. Now, it's, once you actually get in there and you start working it, it's kind of easy. And the 7th cousin once removed is their first cousin once removed, which I also have a DNA connection with. And that's the first one that I found. And then I got to meet the 7th cousins. And then when the 2 7th cousins talked to the 7th cousin once removed, they found out that they were actually off the same, well, I already knew they were off the same branch of that they had, which grandparent they had in common. I already knew that because of my genealogy research, because I had linked myself genealogically through the family tree to the 7th cousin once removed. So from there, it was easy to say, to let him know that, hey, I've met 2 7th cousins who happen to be your first cousins once removed. And we were able to link the 3 of them together. So it was pretty cool. And I had a DNA match to 2 out of those 3 people. So 1 to the 7th cousin once removed, and 1 to one of the 7th cousins. The other 7th cousin I have no DNA match with, but because of the genealogy, we know we are related. So DNA will show that you are matched with somebody. It will not tell you how. It will not tell you that will not tell you the tree that you have to go through to where in the tree they are, because they could, and I've even matched up with second cousins that I didn't even know I had. I know some of my second cousins. I know some of my second cousins, and when they come through on my DNA match, I go, oh yeah, that's so and so. I know exactly where they fit in. And then there's other ones I've had these names appear on, and I'm like, I have no idea who you are. So I have reached out to them, like sent them messages going, hey, I'm trying to find out, like, are we second cousins or third cousins? Because first cousins will turn around and say first, or basically it kind of says first cousins there. But when it gets to the second and third, it goes second or third cousin. These people are second or third cousins. And I'm like looking at them going, well, they're definitely not first cousins. Which I can guarantee. I know all my first cousins. Second cousins, I know some of them. I don't know all of them. But tell me who their parents are, and I will know exactly who they are. Because I not only know my first cousins, I also know my parents' first cousins' names. And their children are my second cousins. So my parents have their first cousins. The children of those first cousins are second cousins to me. My parents' first cousins are first cousins once removed, because they're first cousins with my parents. I am 1 generation removed from them. So I'm first cousins once removed. But their children are my second cousins, because we have that, because it goes back to that common grandparent that we have in common, which in this case with second cousins is your great-grandparents. We have the same great-grandparents. So if you tell me the name of my parents' first cousins, I know them all. I know who they are. I know who all my first cousins are. Do I know my second cousin or my second cousins? No. I do not know who all my second cousins are, which makes it interesting when we go and meet other family members and they start talking about me. I'm like, hang on, whoa, back up. Who's that person? How are they related? And I have done this time and time again when we're sitting around a table and we're like when we're sitting at places where with my dad's first cousins. This happened on my dad's first cousin side. And we're sitting around the table with the first cousins, and they start talking about these people about so-and-so's child. And I'm like, whoa, back up. Who's that person? Oh, you mean this person? Yeah. Who are they? Oh, that's so-and-so. So, okay, got it. I know where they fit in the tree now. Yeah, when they start talking family, I got to know how they fit in the tree. And if they mention a name I don't know, it's like, whoa, wait up. How's that person related? And they'll tell me, oh, that's the child of such and such, and that's one of my parents' first cousins. Got it. We're good. Now we can move on. So when you're looking at DNA and genealogy, you have to work them together. Genealogy, you can do it without the DNA. And here's some of the things that you do have to be cautious of when you are going through the records, because DNA, like I said, shows you that you are matched via DNA, but it doesn't tell you how you are related. When you are going through this, it may show up in records, because the DNA may reveal that when you're going through the records and you're trying to find these DNA matches, you may not find them because that person over there may have been adopted out of the family. So now you have to figure out who in the family are they actually biologically linked to. The person that you are talking with could be from an affair or some other hidden family event. So some skeletons may come to light, and this has happened. One of my third cousins that I got to meet via messages going backwards and forwards, she already knew that she is the result of her mother having an affair with a certain person. And She has not approached her father's side of the family. She knows who her father's side of the family is. She has she's worked out some of the genealogy on that side of the family, but she is linked to me through my mother's side and her mother's side. But she hasn't had any contact with anybody on her father's side of the family out of respect for the family. She didn't want to rock the boat. So there are incidences that are going to come up like this. There's going to be DNA matches come up, and when you're trying to figure out where they are and you can't figure out where they are, make sure you have both parents' names and that you start working through it. And it could be that, hey, this is the mother, but this is the stepfather. It's not actually her biological. This person over here may not be the biological father, and that may come to light. There's a lot of things that have been uncovered. So when you are doing DNA match, when you're doing DNA testing and everything else, be prepared for skeletons to come out of closets. And if you are somebody who is managing somebody else's DNA results and you find skeletons in the closet, the only person you can let know about those skeletons in the closet is the person whose DNA you are managing, their reports that you are managing. You cannot go to anybody within their family and go, tell me the story, why is this showing up? You have to let the person who owns that DNA know. You cannot. So if you come up and you find out that they are not DNA related to their parent, to one of their parents, you can't go to that parent and go, what's going on here? You cannot do that. Legally, you cannot do that. This is one of the principal things that if you have this book here, it is one of the things that you go through when they talk, because this one includes using DNA records. So if you are somebody who is managing somebody's DNA results and something comes up that when you're doing the research and everything else that is upsetting the tree, and you find out this family secret through the DNA, you cannot turn around and go to anybody outside of that person and say, hey, what's going on here? You have to, it is that person, you have to let them know. And when you are managing somebody's DNA, you have to also advise them that the DNA could show some results that they are not prepared for. It could bring skeletons out of closets. DNA matching is a lot of fun, and working with that in conjunction with genealogy is a really cool thing to do, and finding out how people are related. But you have to be prepared for skeletons to come out of closets. So if you're managing somebody else's DNA, if you go to the family and say, hey, all of you do your DNA things, I'm going to collect all the data and put it all together into the tree. You can only report back to the person whose DNA match you are managing what the results are when you come to doing your genealogy research. You can't then turn around, like if you turn around and say that, oh, they don't match up with their mum, especially if you've got parents and kids doing the DNA together. Ooh, they don't match up with their mum. And you can't go to the mum or the grandmother, it could be, like it was in one case that I came across. And you can't turn around to them and go to the grandmother and go, hey, the DNA matches have come back and these are the results and tell me the story. You cannot do that. You can only report back to the person whose DNA match it is. And you have to let them know the results. But you have to warn them beforehand that the DNA results could uncover some secrets in the family. So just so you know, it's out there. No, I just thought of something. Yeah, so even if you have, and like if you have somebody who was, you know that there was an adoption within the family, and somebody turns up years later and goes, oh, I'm your long lost adoption, get the DNA testing done first to find out if they are actually a DNA match for your family, then figure out the tree. So those are some words of caution about DNA matches. They may uncover skeletons in the closet. Things that have been hidden for years may come to light. So be prepared for those results to show up on DNA. Also be prepared for results to show up that you may not be expecting. There could be things in the DNA that you may not be expecting that show up as well. So some people might have an inkling of what they might find in their DNA, and they get the DNA results and it turns out that what they were thinking is not true, which is in a way, a good thing. Or they could be thinking, oh, yeah, I know this, this is my family tree. And then they find out that only half of their family tree is correct through DNA. So that's the caution side of things. So when you are doing your DNA matching, do not take the DNA matching as gospel. You have to do the genealogical research with it to confirm how you are related. So like I said, DNA will tell you are related by blood or by DNA, by blood to somebody, but it will not tell you how you are related. The how comes in on the genealogy side when you get names and dates and places and you construct the tree. So if you have questions on that, please private message me and we can discuss this further. If you're not sure how to read the DNA results, I'm happy to help out. I am learning more each time. I'm learning more. I'm doing got some classes coming up on DNA matching, which I can't wait to do because I was a little, and I will be honest about this. I was hesitant about using DNA for genealogical purposes. It wasn't until I did a class through Boston University on genealogical principles, and we had a whole week on DNA and genealogy that it made a whole lot of sense to me and got me fired up about how you can fill gaps in on trees based on genealogy, because now you have those links that you've been missing, and it can help fill in links into your tree when you get these matches and you start looking at how does that person fit into this tree. When you start doing that, it's like a cloud gets lifted, and all of a sudden you can see clearly now how that person fits into the tree, because you've got their DNA, you've found out where they fit into the tree genealogically, and you know where that little piece fits into your tree. And sometimes it might take a while to find that link, but you will eventually find it if it is there. So without further, so if you have any questions about this, please contact me. I'm always learning more about DNA and genealogy and stuff, and it's fascinating. And then you get into the Y chromosomes and the X chromosomes and mitochondrials, and that's just sort of like a whole new world. And right now there is only one. Yeah, family tree DNA is the only one that will do Y chromosome, which only males have. And so family tree DNA is the only one that will do Y chromosome DNA testing, which for females, if you have brothers or you have a close male relative, have them do the DNA testing to give you your Y DNA, because you're not going to find the halogroup that the Y halogroup. Hang on. Yeah, you're not going to find the group that the male line comes from without that Y DNA. So if you are all females, find your closest male relative on your father's side of the family and have them do a Y DNA testing so that you can then start tracking back the father's side of the family a little easier with the DNA. For the women, now both males and females will get X chromosomes. Yes. So the mothers pass on the X chromosome to both male and female, because the males have an X chromosome, they have a Y chromosome. They are the ones that determine boy or girl. So anytime a male blames the wife for giving him only sons, turn around and say, well, you're the decision maker, not me. Women have 2 X chromosomes. Men have an X and a Y. They're the determining factor. So anytime that a male blames their female their wife for giving them only boys or only girls, just turn around and say, well, you're the deciding factor. And mitochondrial is passed on from mother to children. But men cannot pass on a mitochondrial chromosome. Only the woman can pass that on. So mitochondrial, and that's your mother's halogroup, and you can trace that back through the mother's line. And so the Y chromosome helps determine the father's line. The mitochondrial helps determine the mother's line. And men cannot pass on the mitochondrial. Only the woman can pass on mitochondrial, but she can pass it on to both males and females. So leaving you with that little scientific little tidbit. I tell you, it's really fascinating. I love the mitochondrial thing. I love that. And I'm learning more. I'm going to class coming up where I'm going to learn a whole bunch more on DNA. So I'll let you know when that starts, because I'll be coming on each evening going, guess what we learned today? Right now I'm taking classes on different AI tools that are out there. So I will start reporting back on those, the different AI tools. Like I am learning how to correctly do prompts on ones like ChatGPT, on Bard, on what's some of the other ones? Some of those other ones where it's wording. I'm also learning about doing DNA, not DNA, Jeepers, AI images through Midjourney and DALL-E. DALL-E is part of ChatGPT, and just with words and text. And in Midjourney, there's a slight little bit of command in there, a little bit of programming command in there to get what you need, because you've got to tell it what it's got to do. So I'm learning about those right now on how to improve. And I have to say, just the little bit I have learned so far has helped me a lot when I am using AI. And a lot of times I go in there and I play, and like the prompts I put in there, I am now changing how I do those prompts to give me better information, more reliable information, and to get the information that I need, to get more specific on the information I need. It's made a huge, huge difference already. So with that, there's a lot of stuff I'm going to be throwing at you over the next few weeks based on whether it's from the AI class or from the DNA class. And then I have some really cool news coming up. Can't release it just yet, but it will be released soon. Some people know, most people don't. But there's just a small group of people that know. But yeah, it's going to be some exciting news. So anyway, with that, I'm out of here. Go out, have a super fantastic, sparkling evening, and we'll catch you guys back here tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. Pacific. Hey, go